I'm making this video on how to use the AeroPress coffee maker for the benefit of my daughter Emily and my wife Sandy, because there are certain aspects of it that are not really well explained in the instruction manual, and I just wanted to be able to show this is how I use it and procedure I go through.
The AeroPress coffee maker is described as a combination of a drip coffee maker, French press, and espresso machine. I found it very easy to use and very easy to clean. I'm going to show my own specific method for using the AeroPress coffee maker. This is just the steps that have worked well for me. There are several basic variables that will determine how your coffee will taste and how strong it's brewed. Number one is the grind of the coffee. Since I have a coffee grinder, I have some control over how fine or how coarse the coffee is ground. Even packaged coffee has some variance in how it's ground, so it can still be a factor in how the coffee is brewed. Number two, the brand and the degree of roasting, whether it's a light roast, medium roast, or dark roast coffee. Number three, how much coffee you will use, probably the biggest factor in determining the strength of the coffee you brew. I usually use quite a bit of coffee because I like my coffee strong. Number four is how much water you use, whether you fill it to the 4 mark, the 3 mark, the 2, or the 1. Number five, how long you allow the coffee to brew before pushing the plunger and forcing the water through the coffee. In some of the literature on the AeroPress website or in the instructions, I've seen it mentioned that it should be about 30 seconds, and then in other places it says 60 seconds. I usually wait about 60 seconds since I like my coffee pretty strong. I'm not sure how much difference it makes, but how quickly you push the coffee through may also make a difference too. Some other important things you need to know. You need to have a sturdy cup. It's not too large and it's not too small. If it's too large, it may easily tip over, and if it's too small, you may have coffee overflowing. I'm using a cup that I've had for a while, and it's worked perfectly for me. Step 1. Prepare the AeroPress by inserting a filter into the filter holder. You kind of have to be careful that you're only getting one filter. They're very thin, and it's easy to accidentally grab 2 filters without realizing it. Step 2. Add a measure of coffee to the AeroPress cylinder. In the AeroPress instructions, they mention using the coffee measure they provide and making it a heaping measure of coffee. Since I like my coffee very strong and usually very flavorful, I tend to make it an extra heaping measure. It would be very simple to vary those instructions to get the right coffee strength that you prefer. Another factor that I'll mention later is how long you allow it to brew before you push the plunger and force the coffee into the cup. One set of instructions from AeroPress I saw mentioned letting it sit for 30 seconds, and another mentioned 60 seconds. Step 3. While you're doing all that, you can be heating up some water in a tea kettle on your stovetop. Just be sure to heat up enough water to fill your cup. Step 4. Pour boiling water into the AeroPress cylinder. The AeroPress instructions mention filling it to various levels depending on what type of coffee you're trying to brew. If I remember correctly, filling it to level 1 or level 2 is to make an espresso type of coffee. I typically fill it to the 4 mark for a normal cup of coffee, and sometimes slightly above, especially since I use such a heaping measure of coffee normally. Step 5. Right after pouring the coffee in quickly, use the stirrer to stir the coffee for about 3 to 5 seconds. But then you need to quickly as possible insert the plunger just into the cylinder only as far as it will take to make an airtight seal. That airtight seal prevents the coffee from seeping down into the cup before it's been allowed to brew in the cylinder. If you have the AeroPress flow control filter cap, you may not have to worry about this part as much since it's supposed to control the drip through the filter. It's described as a no-drip filter cap, and from what I understand, it's used in place of the standard filter holder. I say that because I don't have one. It's also described as a means to control the brew time. The Amazon listing for it says, "No drip, the AeroPress flow filter cap stops drip through, giving you full control over your brew time." Now you can let the grounds brew for however long you want before pressing. Step 6. Then let the coffee sit for at least 30 seconds and possibly a minute or more if you'd like for it to take more time to brew. That is another factor that depends on how you like your coffee to taste. Step 7. After the coffee has been allowed to brew, push the plunger down. Sometimes that can take a good bit of effort, especially if you're trying to push it through quickly. What I've found is that if you encounter a lot of resistance, you can just stop for a moment, and usually that makes it easier to push it down further. I usually push on it pretty hard because I tend to overdo. And now we have a nice cup with some foam, sometimes referred to as crema. Step 8 is cleanup. Just unscrew the filter holder or flow control filter cap. Notice that sometimes the filter gets stuck in the filter holder and you have to pull it out of there. Then take the cylinder over to the trash can, push the plunger so that the compressed coffee wafer comes out in the trash. Then the remaining small amount of coffee can be washed off in the sink. Separate the parts and allow them to dry for the next use.